Welcome to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Caleb Teskey, and I've got another great guest for you today. We're gonna be going into some uncharted territory here as far as the Fine Print goes. I'm very excited for it. We're gonna do the homework off the top, like always. Jeff Nordahl from Jade Nectar had a great interview with Jeff. He's out in Santa Cruz, California. If you haven't checked out that interview, he shared it on his YouTube channel as well. Got more views than any interview I've ever done so far on his channel. So that was super cool. I addressed this nonsense. I don't think we need to do that anymore. Nate Brown from Green Mountain Gardens. Great chat with Nate. He's got a tier 1 mixed cultivation license here in Vermont. I had my man Mavstar, who just put out a spectacular new album here called Verona. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's up on his Bandcamp. I had John Campbell from Satori. John, please tell your consultants to leave me alone. That would be great. I do want to do a shameless slap here for a band that I just saw who is super dope. These guys, Forager, they have an album called Pipe Dream Firewood up on Bandcamp. I just saw them at Radio Bean in Burlington the other night. Excellent show. And what do we got coming up, man? On next Tuesday, I got Malcolm McKinnon, man, from High Times. He worked for High Times for 25 years or something. He's a writer, editor, photographer. He has a book called Pot Shots, which I purchased, The Journey of a High Times Photographer. I've got to still rip through that before the interview next week, but I'm very excited to have Malcolm on. He sent me some CDs of the radio show they used to do. That was super cool to listen to. They were shitting on Bill Clinton a little bit. I kind of enjoyed some of that stuff, Malcolm. And then on the 17th, I got Ian Oswald, who's involved in some super cool cannabis research, trying to figure out what compounds contribute to the smell of cannabis. And as he's found out, it's not just the terpenes. So I'm very excited to have Ian on the show. And then on the 22nd, I got Joe Davidian, man. Joe's a world-class piano player. I think he went to U32 here in Vermont. We used to see him at the IAJE jazz festivals when we would play over there with the Linden Institute Jazz Band. And Joe's just a spectacular musician. I'm very excited to have him on the show. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but he's definitely, he's friends with Connor Elms and some of these other folks that who are really just musical legends around the way here. And I think that's all the homework I got. I hope Mike is waiting. I see his video's gone away, but there he is. Okay, cool. Today, guys, my guest, this is a guy I met back in the day when I was doing comedy. He's always been talking about making movies. I'm going to just read a short clip from his bio. Micah Khan is a South Asian American filmmaker who's directed and produced over 30 short films. He recently finished The Zombie Wedding. And yeah, let's just bring him out. Micah Khan, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for being here today.
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going great, man. I'm honored to have you on the show. And I'm hoping before we do anything serious, you'll give us a 5-minute life story.
5-minute life story. All right. So, all right, man. So I guess I started doing this. I moved down to New York City from upstate New York. Originally from Long Island. My parents moved to upstate New York. After high school, I almost didn't graduate high school. I guess it's a life story, so we might as well get into that. I almost dropped out of high school, but my principal showed up to my house during the summer and was like, "I'm not letting you drop out." And so he created a program for me to graduate where I got to just sit alone in a room, like for 6 months and get my high school diploma. Because I hated being in school. I was a terrible student. But yes, after I graduated, I moved to New York City. I thought I wanted to be an actor because I was very naive in like how the film industry worked. Because it wasn't like the days where you can kind of like figure out things online. Because there was like nothing you can Google to figure out how to break in really, other than going to film school, and I didn't have anything to show other than like a few like shitty like YouTube shorts I had made. So yeah, I moved down to the city. I started acting. I started meeting people. And then I just kind of got more interested in the behind the scenes stuff. So I moved back home, went to the New School Center for Media, in Albany. And then I just started making films, and I've never stopped. It's been annoying for all my friends. You know, so yeah, I've made about 34 short films. They're not all great. My last 4 did really well. Safe House, my short action film, won Robert Rodriguez's People's Network Showcase, and premiered on El Rey. And then Meetcute On Danceworld, thank you. Meetcute On Danceworld was the last short film I made, which we made right before the pandemic hit. So it was like all film festivals had shut down. There was nothing to do with it. So I just posted it online, and it did well, man. It was crazy. You know, people posted about it. People loved it. People liked the style. Ben Stiller tweeted it. It was insane. It was cool. And then that led to this movie, you know, because it's really hard to get a feature film made in the film business. So like when someone knocks on your doors, like, hey, we have a X amount of budget that I can't say out loud. You want to direct this movie? You just say yes, and that's where Zombie Wedding came in. I hopped on and did it. I don't know if that was 5 minutes, but I'm not.
That's okay.
About myself, I can talk about other stuff.
That's okay. I want to ask you, maybe I could slow you down here before we talk about the Zombie Wedding.
Sure.
And you could tell us a little bit about Safe House.
Yeah. Safe House, you know, I grew up it's weird to talk about my influences in some ways because I grew up watching like American action movies. Like Terminator 2 is like my favorite movie of all time. But then I also grew up watching Bollywood musicals. So like those two influences are just like huge in my life, where I love Bollywood musicals and I love action movies. And then later in life, maybe, you know, I started to discover horror movies, you know, like specifically Sam Raimi films. The first movie I ever saw of his was Army of Darkness. I love Army of Darkness. It's the first Sam Raimi film I've ever seen. I didn't even know what Evil Dead was, but I just loved this man with a chainsaw hand and his boomstick, and that was it. That was like, I want to make movies like that. And then so like action movies, horror, you know, musicals. Safe House was just an homage to my favorite action movies. You know, I wanted to make something that felt like you know, like a dope action movie. I don't know how else to describe it. My influences being Robert Rodriguez, James Cameron, and, you know, all the great action movie directors out there, like Ridley Scott too is a big influence on me. I keep telling everyone I'm coming for the Ridley Scott throne. Don't hate me, Ridley Scott.
That's a big throne.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding it. I'm gonna find it.
Hell yeah. And I also was a big fan of the Army of Darkness, man. When I first saw it, I must have been, I don't know, a teenager back then. Yep. And yeah.
I love that movie so much.
Dude, I have a t-shirt with the boomstick on it.
That's awesome. But yeah, man, and Safe House is just like a no budget, like action film. My buddy John and I choreographed it together. You know, I had a bunch of friends in it. We taught them how to fight. We did it in a bar on Super Bowl weekend. The first day was a long day, but then the second day we had to be out of the bar by like 2 p.m. because it was Super Bowl Sunday. And so it was crazy. It was a crazy experience to make that. But yeah, we put it together. It premiered on El Rey. It was insane to see, you know, on TV.
And El Rey, that's like Robert Rodriguez, like a little network or something?
Yeah, it's Robert Rodriguez's channel.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was insane to see them announce it and, like, you know, play it on TV. We played it at the same bar we shot it at. So like when it was playing on TV, we had a party and played it at the bar that it was shot at.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That must have been fun.
It was great, man. It was a really surreal experience, especially when like we kind of left it open to the public. So like if anyone wanted to come, so like people who were just regulars would show up and be like, "Hey, that's the bar." Like, yeah, that's why we're all here.
We're there right now.
You're in it. You're in the movie.
Cool. And you know, the other one, and I want to do a little screen share here because I pulled this up and I got a chance to watch this, was the Meetcute on Danceworld. And I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit about that, because I thought you did a wonderful job on that project, man.
Yeah, Meetcute On Danceworld was a wild project, man. I mean, again, we made it right before the pandemic. We literally shot it, I think, January 15th, 2020. It really came from an idea. Like, I was talking to Victoria, my girlfriend, who's also a stand-up comedian and also an incredible filmmaker. We were talking, and she's like, no matter what you do with your next film, it has to have dialogue. But I was like, but I want to do like a dance musical. And she goes, as long as it has dialogue. And then I go, what if the dance was the dialogue? And that's literally where that idea came from. Was just disagreeing with her.
Cool. And
that's that's how it started. And then I brought in my friend Laura Teeter, who's a dancer, choreographer, and she came up with the language. Each move is a real like language thing. Like, if you look in the background, there's signs we've made that are in the dance language. We went so hard in the world building for like a world based in dance. It was so much more work than like most people would have done. But like, my problem is like when I have an idea like that, I'm like, things don't apply anymore. Like, we would do something in a certain way because culturally that's how we would do it. But then I always stop myself and go, well, how would a world full of dance do it?
Put yourself in their tap shoes.
Exactly. Put yourself in those tap shoes.
And I thought that the lighting on that project was really beautiful, man. Whoever dreamed that
Jim
up.
Powers, baby. Jim Powers. He's the same guy who DP'd Zombie Wedding. When I was talking to Jim about doing Meetcute On Danceworld, the two things I really wanted to do was, one, create a really exciting camera style for it, one that almost felt like you were gliding across the dance floor. And then the second thing I wanted to do with the lighting was establish a couple different colors for characters. So like the main character, Baby, who Laura plays, is like her lighting color is like blue, and then Fabricio's lighting color is red. And when they finally come together, they're purple. And I'm like, it's like little silly things like that where I'm like, that sounded fun to me. And I just wanted to play with that.
Hell yeah. And we do a lot of purple here on the fine print as well.
Yeah, I love it.
Was there also, did Grady Dixon also appear in there?
Yes. The very first frame and very last frame. I love it.
He also does stand-up comedy too, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
I met him once at a show by Kate Clancy and Brian Barganier over in somewhere in New York, wherever Great Escape is.
Glens Falls. Yeah, or that area. Yeah.
There you go. Yep, that was fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
So let's I'm gonna slap this up. I'm here with Micah Khan, guys, the director of the Zombie Wedding. So Micah, tell me let's start at the beginning. Like, how did you get involved with this project here?
So it was weird. There was another director that was attached to direct it at first. They had dropped out because of a scheduling conflict. So the AD that director was working with had suggested, hey, you should reach out to this guy, watch his short film Meetcute On Danceworld, see if it's the right vibe for what you guys are looking for. And they watched it and they liked it, and they were like, okay, let's hire this guy. But they had to do their due diligence first. They had to go out to more experienced directors first, because I'd never made a feature film before. So they went through a bunch of directors, and I was like, okay, that's fair. And everyone turned it down because they were like, the movie you're trying to make is like, it's a big movie for the budget they were trying to do it at. And so they were like, we don't want to do it. And I was the only one who said, if you give me any money, I'll make this movie. And there we are. And that's literally how I got involved.
Huh. And so I did also want to mention, you mentioned Ben Stiller. Also, it looked like the Game of Thrones guys also gave you a shout out for the Meetcute On Danceworld.
Yeah, that was wild. David Benioff, the co-showrunner of Game of Thrones, was a huge fan of Meetcute On Danceworld. Huge fan. When I went out to LA, actually, hold on, let me show you this. When I went out to LA, I met up with their team, and they gave me this like limited edition Game of Thrones Blu-ray complete set.
Oh, sick.
Insane. Wow. I love this thing so much. I also love Game of Thrones. If anyone's out there wondering, hey, what's Micah like? I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I rewatch it every year. It's my biggest, like, the best thing for me that's ever come out in the last like 20 years since Lord of the Rings, which is also one of my favorite movies.
No argument there. Sorry to backtrack you there.
No worries. I will go on a tangent and I will show you things. So be careful.
I love tangents and seeing things. So you get hired to make this movie, and I've always been curious because I really don't understand all of the roles of what people do to produce, direct. I don't really understand all that is entailed within those positions, and I was really hoping you could walk us through some of this stuff, and maybe you start with directing.
Yeah, I mean, directing is really just managing a team and making sure that everyone is working towards a singular vision. And that means managing the tone of the movie. So we made a very campy, very like funny, spooky, horror comedies, rom-com, right? So it's like we have to manage, like, how are we being scary, how are we being funny, how are we being campy, and making sure we don't like overdo it or underdo it in any way. And part of that comes down to like casting, how we shoot the movie, the production design, all the things that like go into the movie. So the director's job is just manage a team and tell them like how to get what they're thinking in their head. And also for me, I come from a shooting and editing background, so like I know a lot more than most directors do, I would say, in terms of like how to really put a movie together, because I used to do all my own editing, all my own sound, all my own VFX, all like I'm a no budget filmmaker. I am so used to doing everything absolutely myself. So like for me, like I just know how things are going to cut together in the movie. So I only shot what I really needed, knowing that this would cut together and then give us options to trim down in post if we needed it to.
And I should have probably started before that with whose idea was this movie and who wrote the script for it. Maybe that would have been a better first question.
So the movie's by the Weekly World News. I don't know if you know who the Weekly World News are, but they're like a really famous like fake news tabloid from like the 90s and the 2000s. They were really famous for like Bat Boy found in a well, or like Hillary Clinton's an alien. Which was like they were just like the parody version of the National Enquirer, which is also really weird to say out loud. But like they were like really famous for a while. They're even making a Bat Boy TV show on Netflix now. Yeah, same team. Which is crazy. So Greg D'Alessandro, the guy who he's the CEO of the Weekly World News, he wrote it and produced it.
I like it, man. And for some reason I've always been strangely attracted to tabloids.
Really?
I don't know what it is, but I enjoy the entertainment value of it.
They're weird, man. They're weird.
So we got this script, you're directing. How about the producers? What are the producers doing on a movie set?
Yeah, so producers manage the logistics of a set. So basically, like they're managing the schedule, they're managing the spend, how much we're spending per day on the movie, gathering resources, managing locations, getting locations, getting gear for the crew. So there's a couple different types of producers, right? There's like the on-set producer, sometimes they're line producers, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're just the producer, and they put together the budget, meaning like they know how much everything costs on a set. And they manage the team that like keeps that movie on budget and on time. Then there's executive producers, and what that means in the film business is three things, right? They either brought the script in, they brought the actors in, or they brought the money in. That's literally what executive producer means. Or they brought the distributor in. So like they brought the person who would go on to buy the movie and then distribute it. So that's what an executive producer does. Producers are more like they get the movie made, right? Like, so producers are generally like, sometimes they're people who go and find financing, and sometimes they're people who, again, put the movie together, find the director, put the packages together for like, you know, it overlaps sometimes, but it's really just the same thing. But like EPs or executive producers are really just people who bring in like the money, the talent, or the script.
So let's just shamelessly slap that up here. I'm here with Micah Khan, guys, director of The Zombie Wedding, and it looks like that's a picture of the Bat Boy right there on the poster.
Which one?
Right here. Sorry, there we go. It says up in the top left there, the Weekly World News.
That's
that
him.
That looks like the classic image.
That boy.
So one thing I'm really curious about, Micah, is how you guys find actors to fill these roles, and you know what the casting selection process is like.
So casting for the movie was definitely interesting because it's the first time I ever really had to deal with you know, a casting director and producers. So when they brought me onto the movie, originally the movie was supposed to be like a North Carolina couple, you know, very like, you know, Appalachian, not much room for diversity. So one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to blind cast the movie because I always really love that movie with Brandy where she plays Cinderella and like the prince is Filipino and the dad is white and Whoopi Goldberg is like the mom. And I always thought that was like such fun casting. So I was like, let's just do blind casting for most of this movie. You know, no one's going to care. It's a campy zombie comedy. Like if people care about like that, then we've got other problems. So really like, I was just like, let's open it up to like the best actors we can find, any ethnicity, and like it came together really great. Deepti Menon was literally like my number one choice for the role, and she got it. Donald Chang is like one of the funniest people on the planet, like great improv comic, and he was our other lead. And then I worked with our casting director was Carolyn Sinclair. She's great. She really put in a lot of work finding actors. Like when we were making this movie, I think we got 8,000 submissions per role. It was insane. Wow. So she had a huge job to do. Wow, it was an insane amount of work for her and her team to like filter through. Because one, it was IP. For people Googled it, they figured it out. I was like, oh, this is an IP. They're gonna do multiple movies, you know. They wanted to get it on the ground floor, you know, so tons of people submitted, tons of agents submitted bigger actors, you know, or like called us and be like, we want this person for this role. Like, and then there were some actors who just reached out directly. Then, you know, they found out about the movie through a producer or something. They're like, hey, we saw you're making this movie. Can I be in it? So like Seth Gilliam was like that. Seth was like, hey, I heard you're making a movie about zombies and it's a wedding. And he was like, I want to be in it. And
he was in The Wire or something.
Wire and The Walking Dead. In The Walking Dead, he plays a zombie preacher. In The Zombie Wedding, he plays a zombie preacher. In The Walking Dead, he plays a zombie killing preacher. In Zombie Wedding, he plays a zombie preacher. It's so silly.
Well,
he's so good. Like Seth is like one of those actors who's like, he is an actor with a capital A. Like when he walks in, he's got a process. He's figuring it out. Like, and he's so serious. And then he gets on set and he's like the biggest, wildest performance you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, wow, this guy is like, this is like what this must be like what it feels like to watch Daniel Day-Lewis work. Like if Daniel Day-Lewis did campy horrors.
Didn't he do Lincoln? It's kind of
yeah.
It's kind of a campy horror.
and then other roles, you know, like agents campaigned for actors, you know, that's how we got a bunch of the other actors. Kevin Chamberlin is an actor I really wanted for Buddy Bob. I didn't know how famous he was because I only knew him from TikTok and I thought he was so funny on TikTok. I had no idea this man was like super famous on the Disney Channel. I had no idea he has 11 million followers on all his social medias. Like I had no clue. And I was just like, he's a funny guy. I like him.
That guy. Okay.
Sorry, I was just, you know, Yeah.
I was just looking him up. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Really nice guy. I love him. Cheri Oteri came in through, again, like she wanted to do the movie. Heather Matarazzo was my casting director was suggesting actors, and she's like, what do you think of Heather Matarazzo? And I was like, fuck yes. Like, I love Heather Matarazzo. I love Princess Diaries. It's like such a great movie, and obviously like she's in like cult classic like Welcome to the Dollhouse and all, like, so I was like, that was an immediate yes from me.
It looked
And
like she was in like Forrest Gump, maybe also.
Oh, you're talking about Siobhan?
Oh, maybe I was looking up Siobhan. Sorry, I was looking up some of the folks earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, Siobhan Fallon Hogan is like, if you know her, like that's like everyone knows who she is. Like you've seen her in something. She was in Men in Black. She's the guy. She's Edgar's wife. She's in Forrest Gump. She's in like every single thing you can think of, and she's also one of the funniest and best actors I've ever worked with. Who else? I mean, the movie had a huge ensemble. Like Ajay Naidu was in it from Office Space, who I like. I'm such a big Office Space fan too, and like my favorite part of like working with him was like he's also like he's another actor. Like every actor has a different acting process, right? It's like your job as a director to really figure out like how each actor works, because everyone's different, and so like it's like for directing is like it's not only the visual component where like you got to make sure tonally you're getting everything right visually. It's also like the puzzle piece of like how actors are in a day and like making sure that puzzle fits together. And I love like one of the days where Ajay came in, I was like, all right, we have your office built for like, because he plays like the CEO of the Weekly World News in the movie, or the editor in chief of the Weekly World News. So he comes in, I'm like, and I just watched this man like pretend to be him for like a half an hour in an office pretending like he was working, and I'm like, that's phenomenal. It was so funny to watch.
So he's Samir.
Yeah.
Samir and the Samir not gonna work here anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. I didn't realize that was it. And for everyone that doesn't know, will you tell people maybe a little about Cheri Oteri?
I mean, I don't know what people want to hear about Cheri Oteri, but she's great. I mean, she's so fucking funny, man. That's all. Like, I don't know.
Well, she was from SNL, right? Originally.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, that's what you meant. Like, yeah, Cheri Oteri, Saturday Night Live, super famous for doing like the Spartans cheerleader sketch and like a bunch of others that I cannot remember off the top of my head. Super funny. Such a great role that she did in this. Like she just plays like a boy mom, where she doesn't want to get rid of her son to just some random woman. It's mad funny, honestly. Between her and Siobhan, they're so funny in this movie. It's insane.
Hell yeah. And the other guy I wanted to ask about was Vincent Pastore.
Yeah, Vinny. Yeah, Vinny from The Sopranos, big pussy himself. Great. He plays the mayor of the town that has the zombie apocalypse breakout. Really, really fantastic guy too. Just like really game, really up for anything. Really great at improvising too. Like I love those like old Italian actors. I'm sorry, Vinny. I didn't mean to call you old. Don't kill me. I just love them, man. I love like all those Italian actors.
Yeah, must have been fun. I saw him on the movie fly here. I'm with Micah Khan, director of The Zombie Wedding. I saw his name up there.
Yeah, and then the other big person who's in it is Micky Dolenz from the Monkees.
Oh.
Yeah.
No shit, dude. I didn't notice that.
He's on the poster. He's just he's there on the right side in the green outfit.
Okay, he's from the Monkees.
Yeah, it's the lead singer of the Monkees, baby.
Wow, he doesn't monkey around.
He was literally monkeying around on set. It was great. Yeah, we had a crazy cast. It was wild. How many people wanted to come and be in it?
Yeah, you said 8,000 applications per role. Something.
Yeah, it was insane.
Wow,
it was an insane thing to deal with, and like you know, me and my casting director, like we really went through every submission too, because we didn't want to like leave anyone on the table or off the table, you know, in case there was someone right for the role. Like we did a lot of work in casting.
Well, I hope it came together
And
well.
our younger ensemble, like our younger ensemble is fucking fantastic. You know, obviously Donald Deepty, Christina Alabato's in it. She's fucking great. She was really famous for being, she's Gretchen Wieners on the Broadway Mean Girls play. And then she's also in a TV show right now called Has Been Hotel. She's the voice of Cherry Bomb. Who else?
Cool.
Oh my gosh, Mushaka Benson. I've worked with Mushaka on a short film before. I think he's one of the best actors, up and comers. Christine Spang, fucking hilarious. She's got such a like Nicolas Cage style of acting that I love. I really hope people find more stuff for her, because, or like, please just get Nicolas Cage to play her dad in a movie and just let them both go crazy on screen. Please. I just want to see them both on screen together. Like, I love that Nicolas Cage style acting, like that old school, like that mix of like modern naturalistic and old school theatrical acting. Like, and Nicolas Cage just embodies that. Nick Cage, I want to work with you, please. Find me.
Nick watches my show all the time.
Please. Caleb will get you as much marijuana you need.
I will give you free weed if you hire Micah to do a movie.
Please.
Deal.
I'm begging
That's a deal.
you. Yeah, but yeah, so Mushaka Benson. Then we had like Lawrence James, fucking hilarious, who's also in the original play for Zombie Wedding. John Maxner, regular collaborator of mine, also my stunt coordinator on Safe House, also in it. Julian Mazzola. Who else? There's so many people in this movie that I forget, literally. J.D. Onker plays our villain. Incredible physical actor. Love him. Who am I forgetting? Oh my gosh. I'm forgetting someone. Katie Kwong. Katie Kwong, so good. So funny. Katie Kwong, fun fact, on her audition, like when she auditioned for the movie, actors can submit reels or like scenes from other movies, and she had in her scenes, she had originally auditioned for the lead, but like I had watched all her stuff. I didn't think she was right for the lead, but then I was like, I need to put her in something, because I'd seen one of the things, the scenes she put was a monologue from Senor Chang from Community. And I thought it was so funny, and I was like, whatever, I can't cast her as lead. I gotta put her in the movie because she's so funny.
Yeah. Cool. Well, dude, you remembered a lot of names there, man.
I mean, I'm definitely forgetting some people. I know there's so many people in the movie. We had 21 speaking roles in the movie. 21.
Yeah. That's it. And that was, thanks. You did my next segue for me here. I was going to ask you about, sort of coordinating all these people, and it sounds like you filmed at a number of locations.
Yes.
And had a short time frame to do it. And I'd just really love to hear how you pulled that off, man.
Yeah, I mean, much like the zombie apocalypse, making this movie was also the apocalypse. It was an 18-day shoot, 35 locations, 21 actors, 94 pages. It was a lot, man. We're getting 5.5 pages per day, basically. In the last act of the movie, everyone is in the same room, so it's a lot of coordinating what actors are doing, where they're standing, what they're like, where they're moving to, and really just not wasting their time or their space, finding funny things to do for them. There were a lot of things that we didn't get time to shoot that we thought were really funny ideas, really funny setups and payoffs that like we wish we could have gotten to, or even some things that didn't even make it into the movie. But one of the things I did work on really, really hard was I tried to create background stories to like, and not just like, I don't mean backstories to the actors. I mean literally in the background of the movie. Like in the background of the movie, you will see other stories happening. And I will leave it at that if people find which ones are happening in the movie.
Side quest. I love a good side quest.
There's so many side quests. There's so many multiple storylines that are happening in the background of the movie that also have payoffs and endings and full arcs in the background of the movie. It's weird. It's insane. There's a lot of work.
All right. I like that background shit. That's usually the shit that I notice. Like, I recently watched a movie called Beau is Afraid, which was a really weird movie with Joaquin
weird
Phoenix.
movie.
But the signs in the background, there was like weird. I usually notice shit like that, even if I get lost.
You'll have a lot of fun with this one because there's a lot of little things that you could find that we string together in the background. I'm a big fan of, like, there's a filmmaker named Jacques Tati. He's a French filmmaker. He's really famous for doing like Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, Mon Uncle, Traffic, Playtime. They're like really famous French films where he uses like the full frame of the movie to create a story. It's like mostly atmospheric. It's like such a weird. They're on their old comedies. They're so weird, but if anyone gets a chance to watch them, they're such great movies.
Mm. And I was also curious about your sort of style because the Meetcute on Danceworld was like a non-verbal kind of thing, which was really clever in my opinion. But then now you've got a full-length film, and it's like I was wondering if maybe you brought some of that same style to this movie.
Yeah, it's wild to see how the movie changes, right? Like when the producers came to me, they were like, "We want Shaun of the Dead meets Rocky Horror Picture Show," and I was like, "Great, I can deliver that." That's exactly what Meetcute on Danceworld style is. It's like, so we created a lot of visual callbacks in Zombie Wedding. Some got cut, some are still there. So there's a lot of stuff where like you can find the first time we do a shot versus the full arc of the last shot. It's weird how the movie kind of wanted to turn into its own thing at times too. Like there were times where the movie wanted to be Beetlejuice. There was time the movies wanted to be Gremlins, where like the zombies were just being little freaks. There were so many little things where like the movie will tell you what it wants to be, and you just got to hold on to that, and like and make sure that you're keeping onto the tone and you're not going too crazy. What was the question? I'm so sorry. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, a lot of decisions go into making the edit of the movie. It didn't end up being, as Shaun of the Dead as I wanted it to be, just because that's just the nature of filmmaking. Things get cut, visual references get cut, visual callbacks. I mean, and that's that's the name of the game. But it's still a fun movie.
So Micah, after the movie is made, you got it all in the can, and what is involved with the post-production of a movie? Like, and you mentioned editing too, but like I'm curious what those processes are like, and before it goes onto a screen somewhere.
Yeah, so when you're making a movie, what the industry calls coverage, right? I don't know how like well versed people are in your audience. I'm just going to be as like detailed as possible here. So when you're making a movie, when you're shooting scenes, like if like this shot right here of me would be like a medium shot, and this would be called coverage, right? So like if you want to shoot a scene, what you do is you shoot a wide, you shoot a medium, you shoot a close, you shoot a close up of every actor, and then you got a movie. You could put something together there. You can cut to wherever you want. So like that's coverage. That's what you bring into post, right? So that's the bare minimum you need stuff to cut to in post-production, right? Post-production is just like, it's just assembling the movie, finding the best takes from the scenes and putting it together. After you got a picture lock, when you have the whole movie put together, usually you start with a director's cut and then you get a producer's cut. Producers get the final cut of almost every movie. And then that goes to color. Sorry, it goes to sound and color. So like sound design, where you're adding sounds, fixing dialogue problems, and anything like that. And then you go to color, and then you do VFX and stuff like that. And then you put the movie out there, and we premiered at Dances with Films. I don't know if that helps. Yeah,
I hope it helps. It's helping me, dude. I'm really glad that you're enjoying this, and please feel free to break this down as far as you like, dude.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to. I mean, like, getting coverage for movies is insane. You know, every movie is a battle to get everything you need in a day. I mean, there's days we had like 40 extras and like our entire principal cast and like making sure we shoot everything we can get. You know, when you go into a movie, you know, you go in with a plan to be like, all right, this is how we make this movie absolutely excellent, completely different, visual style, you know, fucking nuts. You know, Meetcute On Danceworld was a batshit style, you know, a movie. You go in with this plan and then you run into time, right? Like there is absolutely no time to do some of the stuff that you want to do. Where like you have these, you know, great blocking of actors meets camera work, and you're like, this is gonna be fucking great. Some like film school students their brains gonna explode when they watch this one day, and then you're like, you only have 30 minutes to get this shot, and we're done for the day, and you have 3 more setups. You're like, fuck it, and you just throw it out, and you're like, get whatever we can, because the most important thing as a director when you're hired to make something is to get everything you need to cut the movie together.
That's a great point there, Micah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm sorry, you're making me now. Things are like all the things that are buried are coming up. Like there's a lot of things that come up on movie sets too, where like things don't go the way you want them to every day. Like there was a day where we lost our location. We were supposed to shoot in a motel, and we're like, great. So me, the screenwriter, and our production designer were like, all right, where do we do this scene? You know, we got to figure it out because we have to shoot this in an hour. You know, we don't have a location. We don't know what we're doing. So we're just looking around. We're like, what locations do we have? We were talking to a building manager, the place where we're shooting the production office for the movie. And they're like, oh, we have a bunch of stuff in the basement if you want to take a look at it. And we went down there. It was a bunch of diner booths down there, just like random diner booths. And then I remember in the front of the production office there's something that looks like a bar, that looks like it could be like a kitchen bar, like at a diner. So I was like, great, we're gonna build a diner in the corner, and that's it. And that's like literally like there's a diner in the corner of the movie, like in one shot, and we can't shoot anything to the right and we can't shoot anything to the left. We can only shoot in one direction, because if we do anything else, you see a ton of gear, a ton of like people working, people getting their makeup done, like everything you can think of like on a movie set is like on the left and the right, and we have this one sliver of direction where you can shoot this entire scene in. Like things like that, where like we you know, we're supposed to shoot at a karaoke bar. There's only one karaoke bar in this town we were filming in. They're only closed on Mondays. We can't pay to shut down the bar. So what do? We find an abandoned restaurant and we ask the owner if we can build a karaoke bar. And you just hope that the audience doesn't notice there's no bar in this restaurant. And you just kind of get away with, how are they drinking so much when there's no bar? You know, we just hope that they don't notice.
Well,
there's things like yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
It's like if I turn my camera around, there's just a set of tires and a bunch of dirty boxes in my studio.
Yeah, exactly.
On the wall here, I have art from some of my best friends, and I love them dearly. And then over here, it's just, yeah, it's all in the way you frame it, I suppose.
Exactly. It's all about being as creative in your finding your coverage as possible, right? Like I would love to get to the point where like I get 60 days to shoot a movie, you know, and I can really play around and figure out how I want to get something that as dynamic and as fun as possible and like get the best lighting possible. But that's just not how the industry works right now, you know, especially on these low budget movies that we just made. You know, you just don't get the time to do everything you want to. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to light how you want to. You know, I see a lot of people, maybe people who are not in the film industry, it's like, oh, why does film and TV kind of suck now? Like, you know, the lighting sucks or whatever it is. It's like, no one has time. You know, tech companies own most of Hollywood right now. They don't give a shit about artistic vision. You know, they're the most you get time to do is maybe top light, and you get to start and you shoot your coverage, and that's it. You know, like you're, especially at the studio level, like it's nuts how much time people don't get to make their movie. You know, It's unless you're Spielberg, unless you're Ridley Scott, unless you're like Christopher Nolan, where these people are like huge
Dennis
budget.
Villeneuve or something.
They make their money back and a half. They're the only people who really get time to make their movies. You're lucky. Me and my friends have a joke. Like when I have a friend who's shooting a movie right now. She's got 28 days to shoot it. I'm like, who are you, Spielberg? Like, it's not even that much of a difference, but it's big. It's big enough for us,
Yeah, like
10 more days makes a huge difference. We get to try new things.
The amount of time you said, 18 days to shoot a movie. I mean, look, I don't know how any of this stuff works, but that feels super fast for the amount of people you're working with, the amount of locations that you're going to, and the length of the script. I mean, boy, that just seems like a very narrow window.
It is because we basically have a location change every day, and that's something that's really hard to deal with on a move because you have to move all your gear to another location,
and all the people,
and all the makeup, and you have to retouch the makeup, and you have to do all these things before you shoot again. It's a beast to make movies. Especially like at these lower budget levels where you're trying to make something look as good as possible. And you're just up against time and resources, and like you just don't have the same things. I mean, I hope for my next movie I can just do like a one location movie. Literally, like I literally just want to do one location for my next film, just so I can like really spend the time to make it. I
like how you do my segues for me, Micah, because I was going to ask you about.
I love it. I'm a talker, man. I'm sorry. You get me going. I'll go.
Well, before we get to that was going to be sort of the end here, but like, you said you did maybe some storyboards and stuff like that for the movie, and I was curious if you'd tell us about that. Did you bring some?
I did. So this is my storyboard notebook for Zombie Wedding. It's gonna look so silly because I literally just draw in stick figures. Literally, I don't know if people can see this. Literally, these made it. Hold on, there's actually a scene that made it into the movie, like literally frame by frame. I wish I could show it to you guys. Where is it? I don't know, but yeah, there's we got some craziness here. Hold on. Yeah, this is literally what my storyboards look like. They are absolute garbage, but they get the job done.
Yes.
And like I wish I thought about this earlier because I have some scenes. I was looking through this earlier and I was like, I wish I could like show you actual scenes from the movie. Because there are some scenes that made it in exactly as they are in storyboards where you look at it, you're like, no, yeah, it does work.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a minute to here. I'll buy some time for you guys. I'm here with Micah Khan, director of The Zombie Wedding, and if you guys didn't see it earlier, here's the one of the short films he did, Meetcute On Danceworld, which got Ben Stiller's attention and the guys from Game of Thrones, David Benioff. That was super cool to see, Micah.
I can't find it, but I will. I wish.
That's okay.
I wish I could find it. I just don't. I'm trying to translate my own writing here.
That's okay. I have more questions, and we can
please,
defer.
Look at this.
I want to.
Like, this is literally what it looks like.
Hey, whatever gets the job done. I can't draw.
The job done. That's the crazy thing. But I had a plan when I went into making this movie. I knew how I needed to get it, and if things changed on set, it changed.
Got to roll with the punches.
Exactly. Deal. It's all rolling with punches.
Can you tell us who did the costumes and the makeup, please?
Yes. So the costumes were done by Olga Turka. Olga also worked on Terrifier 2 and 3, coming out soon in October, if anyone's a Terrifier fan. And Christian de Medici was our creature designer, who also works with Lady Gaga on her latest tour, she did those like aquatic creature looks that she wore. That's Christian.
Cool.
Yeah. We and Jim Powers, cinematographer, John Stegman, production designer. It was a great working with those guys. I mean, and Olga and Christian, super talented. John and Jim, they already know how I feel about them. I love them.
So
John and Jim also worked on Meetcute On Danceworld.
Cool. And so I think I'm running out of shit here, Micah. I'm gonna slap this up one more time. It's a zombie wedding. I got the director here, Micah Khan. I always leave the last word for my guests. I'm gonna pull myself back up here. I always leave.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure having you on, Micah. The last word always for the guests. If we missed anything you think is important, or if you have shameless plugs or shout outs that maybe we missed, now is the time. And please, dude, I want to thank you again for your time, dude. And please tell us where we could find the movie too.
Yeah, that's the plug, baby. That's Zombie Wedding comes out limited theatrical release on September 13th. But it's already available for pre-order on Apple TV, and it'll be able to buy September 13th on all streaming platforms, cable, and anywhere you're looking for stuff, you'll find it on September 13th.
If that's all you got, Micah, I'm going to sign it off.
Yeah.
Micah Khan, the Zombie Wedding. Stick around for a minute, if you would, please. I'm your host, Caleb Teskey. And remember, the devil's in the details, and the details are in the fine print.